Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's guest is Darren Cobin, who has been a certified personal trainer since 2001. Darren specializes in helping busy professionals to regain their health and fitness in a safe and sustainable way that fits within their hectic lifestyle. Can we relate to that or what? Anyways, let's go say hello to Darren.
You strive to keep your family healthy, bosses and employees happy, and the home life smooth. But now it's time to focus on you. This is High Energy Girl, a fun show focused on helping you get healthier and feel amazing.
It's time to ditch the excuses and start living your best life.
Here's your guide to help you increase your energy and empower your life. Health coach and personal trainer, Tracy Gluhite.
Create Whole Body Wellness, a powerful new advancement in energy medicine. Increase your energy, empower your life. I am super excited to announce that I am now a bioenergetics practitioner. And many people are like, well, what is bioenergetics? So imagine that our body is controlled by our energy field, and these fields get distortions and blockages, which create physical and emotional symptoms. So how do we get energy blockages? From stress, toxins, EMFs, emotional traumas, physical scars, and physical traumas. All you need to do is decode the human body field to get to the root cause and restore your energy for life. For more information, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/bioenergetics with an X. That's BIOENERGETIX, and heal your energy for life. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, High Energy Girls. That way we can be in contact and chat every day. Hey, Darren, thanks for coming on our show today.
Hi, Tracy. Glad to be here.
Hey, so I am so looking forward to getting to know you better, and I know that our listeners are really going to enjoy what you have to teach them today. So just to get started, will you let us know a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I originally got started in the fitness industry more in teaching martial arts, and being a personal trainer wasn't originally on my radar, but I wasn't really getting paid anything to teach martial arts and had to pay bills and pay rent. And I tried to think to myself, what could I do that would be similar, but that might not be such a niche industry that I could do. And I looked through a college catalog and saw a fitness specialist program. And so I went through that program and became a certified personal trainer in 2001. And I've been training in the greater Seattle, Washington area since 2002. And have gone through a lot of ups and downs and learning processes, and had the opportunity to learn from a lot of amazing teachers, and have ended up having a pretty long career in the fitness industry.
So you've said a few things. First of all, martial arts, what practice or what would you call it, methodology did you teach?
I did a Korean martial art called Umyeongdo, which kind of consisted of a variety of different traditional East Asian styles. So I was practicing a lot of different forms and things like that, with more of a focus on health and longevity, I would say, compared to some styles that focus more on self-defense fighting.
Okay, that's cool. I like that on longevity. That's like my big message is how, as you probably know. So that's really cool. I've never heard of that. My family does Taekwondo.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of one of the styles that was it was based on.
Woven
Taekwondo.
in.
Yeah.
And with your fitness, do you work at a gym or do you have your own gig going?
I used to have my own training studio for a while, and then my former business partner and I had kind of a falling out, and so when our lease was up, we decided to go our separate ways, and I decided to just become an independent contractor at a performance training facility down the street.
Oh, that's cool. That's less stress too than having your own place.
Yeah.
I wanted to open up like a little wellness center in my town. And my husband's like, you know what, babe, it's so much easier to just do what you do and work with people remotely or, even locally, but not have the stress of that overhead and employees and all of that comes with it.
Yeah, when you open up your own facility, you really have to put a lot more of your focus into team building and building the business systems and building systems that employees can follow and building the right team and nurturing them, which is great. But I really like being a coach myself and working with my clients. And after my facility closed, at the same time, I was going through a very in-depth continuing education program. And so I wanted to get back into focusing on my own personal training and coaching skills. And so at least for now, that's what I've been focusing on, being the best coach I can be and, rounding out my set of tools that I use with my clients. And so that's been my focus for the last 6 years or so.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's what I'm more passionate about, is just building my dash and making a difference. The business side is super hard, but that's something why, I have like a little team to help me with that. So, so getting back to you and your stuff. So what do you find with your clients is something that is like, especially the women, that is something that they all need a little bit more of, or what kind of condition do they come to you in?
My main client demographic tends to be over the age of 35 or 40. They tend to be busy professionals, very ambitious at work and accomplished at work. They tend to be really stressed out. I don't think I have many clients who just work a 40-hour work week. They tend to really put extra time in and energy at the office, and they're under-rested. They're usually not eating real well, and usually their stress management and time management and kind of stress coping skills could really use some work. And I would say a lot of them are really focused on the superficial result they want, which is fine, because as humans, that's kind of in our nature to focus on that. But they really need to go through a paradigm shift in their mindset and start to see themselves as a more kind of disciplined and more athletic person who, at least puts some focus on their physical self and balance that out a little bit with their professional and family life.
Okay, so let me see if I understand what you're saying. So they come to you because they want, they want to lean out, or they want to build their biceps. I had a client once that she cared more about she just wanted to work her butt and her biceps. And it made me crazy. I'm like, what about your heart? That's pretty important. If you don't have a strong heart, then the best butt and the nicest biceps aren't going to matter.
Yeah, or you get the really specific requests, like I want a bigger butt, but I don't want my thighs to get more muscular.
Oh.
Or I want to lose weight, but I don't want to lose any weight in the chest area.
Oh, wow.
That's really hyper specific requests.
Yeah, good luck with that one. That's usually the first place they lose it. Okay, so when you have these stressed out clients and they come to you and they work too much, and what do you do next with them? What is your first order of priority?
My first priority is just to help them build a habit of getting through the door. So I want to reduce as much of the overwhelm or stress they might be feeling about coming into, a gym type environment that has athletes training there and, some people that are pretty aggressive with their training, and just helping them feel comfortable and welcomed and accepted here, and that it's not, some kind of exclusive club that they can't be part of.
So is your gym geared toward, is it like a big gym, a small gym?
It's not as big as like your, 24-hour fitness or LA Fitness kind of national chain gyms that sell, thousands of memberships. We just do training at the facility that I work at, and but for a boutique private training facility, it's pretty big.
Oh, okay. So it's just a personal training gym. I love that.
Yeah.
And so one of my guests that I had on my other podcast, there's actually two girls that are actually competitive figure, they're competitive figure girls, and they do this methodology called low and slow or something. Have you heard of that?
I'm not familiar with low and slow.
Oh, no, super slow. Sorry, super slow.
Oh, super slow. Yes. That's where the tempo of the movement is done. Usually at least with a 5-5 tempo, like, if you're doing, let's say, a chest press, 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. But I've often seen it where it goes up to 10 seconds up, 10 seconds down.
Yeah, I think they're doing like an 8-10 or a 10-8. And they only work out once a week, full body. Or maybe it's twice a week. Twice a week, full body. That is it. That's all they do in their figure competitive shape. Is that crazy?
It is crazy, but I've actually tried a method that uses that before at a facility in my area, and it's a lot harder than people realize.
Yeah, I've tried it. Your whole body is shaking, and you can't lift as light. So I think it's kind of a fun thing to weave in, to do different types of training. So that's kind of fun. But what is your message? Like, what type of message do you like to empower your clients with that we can also empower the listeners with?
I would say two things, and both of them are related more to mindset than the specifics of what exercises you're doing or how you're setting up the workout program or what foods you should or shouldn't be eating. If you can get your mindset right first, the other stuff you can hone and will kind of fall into place over time. But if you don't get your mindset right, it's really easy to kind of skip from either workout program to workout program or nutrition program to nutrition program and never really stick with anything long enough to see the kind of results you're going to see.
Yeah.
And so, one of the main mindset things that I like to really try to get my clients to glom onto is, kind of meet yourself where you're at and hone your focus, and don't try to overload yourself with too many different changes all at once. Like, start small, but be really consistent. Start with something that's not that far out of your comfort zone and get good at that first before you add something that's really far out of your comfort zone. And so really just kind of taking one step at a time and being kind of flexible and patient and accepting of where you're at. I'd say that's one of the biggest starting points, because especially if people are already really accomplished in their professional life, or they're trying to be, the perfect mom and homemaker, they put a lot of pressure on themselves to do everything perfectly immediate. Mm-hmm. And most people can't sustain that with everything in their life 100% of the time. You might be perfect or have extra energy towards, one or two areas some of the time, but to be perfect all the time is really kind of a huge burden that most people can't live up to.
Yeah, I think that's a good message, because I don't know if you've ever heard the term, but perfectly imperfect. Like, none of us are perfect. And sometimes I see clients like put so much stress on doing it exactly one way that when they sway away from that path, they just finish. They're done. They check themselves out instead of, getting back on track.
Yeah, and I think people also get drawn into these, if you want to call them fad diets, and exercise programs that tend to be, trying to achieve very aggressive body changes really quickly, in a lot of cases quicker than what's really healthy for the body. And that's why if you look at the statistics, most people end up, who lose a lot of weight end up gaining it back. And, they've seen through studying former members of like the TV show The Biggest Loser, people actually end up doing permanent damage to their metabolism. They do permanent damage to their hormones. And then it just gets harder and harder over time to try to accomplish the same thing.
Well, and that's so extreme. I mean, our body is smart, and when they're working out that hard and that long, their body's going to be holding on to stuff going, oh no, you're not going to do this to me now.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why it's breaking the metabolism. God, you said something else I wanted to ask you about. Oh, geez. I hate that when I hear somebody talking, I'm going to have my editor edit that part out. Like, no. But I totally agree with what you're saying is like too fast. It's like you want to see my thing. Okay, here's my thing. With a eating plan and a workout program, we want to look at it as being a sustainable lifestyle, not a quick fix, as well as addressing the mental things that got them there in the first place. Like mindless eating or stress or, lack of self-care. Or would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that. I don't want anybody to feel judged or, picked on by this statement, but, it's really popular that you hear people doing like some of these cleanses and detoxes and, some of these really extreme kind of nutrition interventions, or, people doing very aggressive things as far as exercise or sports, like some of these, mud runs and, Tough Mudder or Spartan races or things like that. And, not to say that these things are inherently bad, but if you're not doing kind of the basics, and you haven't already built up to that, with more kind of simple, long-term, day-to-day stuff, and you're doing these real quick fix, temporary, short-term things that are sometimes, way outside your body's comfort zone and what it's used to, sometimes you can actually have the opposite effect of what you're intending, because you haven't really prepared your body with, steps A through M, and you're already jumping to like step X or something like that.
Yeah. So what are the basics?
As far as just kind of health and lifestyle, drink more water, eat more unprocessed foods like fruits and vegetables, get more protein, get better quality and quantity of sleep. I would actually say one of the biggest things that, people don't have optimized and would make a huge difference with how their metabolism works and just their mindset and their well-being is optimized sleep.
Yeah.
So many people, we're glued to all our electronics, throughout the day. And that kind of keeps us kind of wired even as it gets late at night. And we get that real common, like tired and wired feeling of like, you should be going to bed, but you just want to watch one more episode on Netflix, or you want to get one more task done on, on your laptop, or, being just glued to social media nonstop. And, if you're constantly having to, stay up until your body just finally, until your mind just like gives out on you and you pass out. And then you wake up stressed out about, getting ready on time. Is everything done? You're never really getting adequate rest and recovery.
So what advice do you have to help your clients or help our listeners improve their sleep?
Start to set up rituals. And because willpower in general, when it comes to changing your lifestyle, is not enough. Willpower is a finite resource. And yes, you need to cultivate it, but after a long, stressful day, of, working and dealing with family, you kind of deplete your willpower resources. And so having to rely on that solely late at night when it's already been depleted is generally not going to set you up to win as consistently. So you need to set up kind of habits or rituals or routine so that you just get used to, without even thinking about it, going through that behavior pattern that ends with you, going to bed earlier with less distractions and less things that are kind of stimulating you. So, having a time hard cut off that, electronic devices are shut off, and basically just trying to set up a little routine that starts to relax you and, helps you wind down. For some people, maybe taking a hot bath or shower before going to bed might help. As much as this sounds really weird, some people swear by it. Actually taking a cold bath or shower kind of changes their energy state and kind of tires them out.
Really? I would think that would have the opposite effect.
I think you have that short little burst of adrenaline when your body is exposed to cold. But once you can kind of get used to that initial shock of the cold, I think any kind of drastic change in temperature from, what your body's used to or your homeostasis, I think can actually kind of, tire a person out and, make them a little more susceptible for relaxing and going to sleep.
Interesting. Okay, that's something new I haven't heard before. So that's a good one, because I always do like the hot bath and all that, but I've never done any cold stuff. Probably also because I hate it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I prefer the heat over the cold. Sometimes what I will do, though, is something called contrasting, where I'll switch off between the hot and the cold several times. And if ending with cold just makes somebody totally miserable, they can end on the hot instead of the cold.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I would like that better. But yeah, the cold back and forth. I'm in California and it's winter now, and I like always have a space heater with me. I'm so not a cold person. So that's funny that you said that. So what I tell people also is to like shut down the blue light right away. Put the filters, like I have on my Mac, I have a blue light filter so that the blue light doesn't shut down their circadian rhythm and, shunt their melatonin production.
Yeah.
And I like your idea about having a hard shutdown time. Like, okay, 8:00, I'm done, so I can have lights out by 9 or something. So besides,
yeah, totally agree.
Besides the bath and the shower, the cold bath or shower, what other advice would you give people to get them to, have a better bedtime routine?
I think trying various things to see what kind of relaxes you and what kind of starts to get your mind off of work, get your mind off of what needs to be done the next day, and just wind down. So for some people, meditation or some kind of breathing exercises can be really helpful. Yeah. I know a lot of us these days tend to be a bit ADD, so that can be a challenging skill to develop with meditation and breathing, because our mind starts racing and we're thinking of all the other things we could be doing. But I think that's a really valuable skill to just learn to tune in with yourself and be patient and just be there with yourself and not need constant stimulation. And I'll be the first to admit, like in martial arts, I used to have to do a lot of meditation, and with my ADD, it was really hard to sit there and be still. But similar to working out, your muscles slowly get stronger and stronger over time, or your endurance slowly builds up over time. The same is with meditation and various stress relief stuff. It's not going to just magically work perfectly when you first start it. It's a skill that you have to build up. Everything around this is a skill. The ability to, create a nutrition plan or to follow a diet is a skill. It's right. Not just something we're naturally born with. We have to cultivate, the skill of analyzing our behaviors, figuring out what to do about them, how to consistently follow what it is we set out to do. Like, all these things are skills. Mm-hmm. And any skill that is worth developing takes time. So people need to be patient with it. So if people want to learn to meditate or do any kind of stress relief thing, they have to realize that it's not going to work perfectly right away, but they have to keep chipping away at it.
Yeah, you said a word earlier, rituals. I think that when they practice it over time, it becomes a habit, and the next thing you know, it's a ritual.
Exactly.
Like brushing their teeth, hopefully.
Definitely. And there's a concept called habit stacking, which is where you take something that's already an ingrained habit of yours or already a ritual, and you basically stack or slide in a new thing in there. And typically, when getting started, it really helps to pick something that you could do in like 5 minutes or less, as a habit stacking thing. So if brushing your teeth is already a nighttime habit, what other things could you stack with that? Maybe while you're brushing your teeth, you can listen to some kind of really relaxing music, like classical music or something, or you could listen to like a guided meditation while you're brushing your teeth. There's apps like, I'm having a mental, just spacing on the name of that, Headspace. That's
Headspace. It. Yeah.
Yeah. You have apps like Headspace, and there's other ones out there too that, have guided meditations or those kind of background sleep noises like whale noises or bell chimes or Tibetan monks chanting or things like that. And you could maybe start to listen to something that you find soothing or relaxing while you're brushing your teeth. So you're just stacking something that's new for you with something that you already do without even having to think about it night after night.
That's a great idea. I love that. And I love the idea of listening to the white noise, or, the thing that I have a problem with those when you're sleeping, though, is the EMFs that you're getting from the device that you're playing it on.
Yeah, that's kind of, there is some catches with some stuff where, if you're trying to, really limit your electronic device exposure, but then how do you use something like that? I guess a potential workaround would be if you have some sort of, speaker in the room, you could maybe just have your device in another part of the house, that's streaming to your speakers. And so you just have the speaker going, but not the phone, like on your nightstand by your head or something like that.
Yeah, I would have to figure out what would be the best way. I know that if your phone is in your room, which mine never is, but if it is, it should be about 6 feet away from your head to break down any of the radiation that you would get from your phone. So maybe that's a good idea, though, to have a speaker, like, I don't know, like if you put your phone into a player and then have it 6 feet away. That's a good idea.
Yeah, like I have one of those Echo Dots from Amazon on the other side of the room. And so sometimes I'll have my phone streaming to that, but my phone could be in another part of the house.
Oh, cool. That's a good idea. You're full of good ideas. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is what we spoke about earlier, is about the mental side of strengthening your body. Like, why would a woman who's never stepped foot into a weight room, why would she want to pick up a dumbbell?
So, aside from the specific benefits of, better bone density, being stronger, faster metabolism, better hormone production. So aside from all the physical or physiological benefits, women are often kind of made to feel, weak or weaker than men. And while, genetically, most men might have, greater strength building potential, I think it's very empowering for women to feel strong. And, I think a lot of them have this fear of getting bulky or looking manly when they lift weights. And, I won't say that there's no women anywhere that, produce enough testosterone that they might respond to weight training, a little faster than others. But for the most part, the majority of women do not produce enough testosterone to respond to weight training the same way that most men would.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to build muscle as quickly. They're not going to build as much muscle. And I think people who haven't done strength training, they don't realize how hard it is to put on muscle.
I know.
It's very, very hard. When I was in school, one of our teachers gave us a project where you had to either gain 8 pounds of muscle in 8 weeks or lose 8 pounds of fat in 8 weeks. So, living up to the stereotype, most of the men wanted to gain 8 pounds of muscle and most of the women wanted to lose 8 pounds of fat. And only one guy in the entire class was able to put on 8 pounds of muscle in 8 weeks. And he was already kind of, a big built dude. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was maybe, using some performance enhancing drugs as well. But it's really not that easy to put on a lot of muscle. So when I talk to women who are afraid of getting too big and they say, "Oh, I build muscle really easily," I don't want to make them feel bad or belittle them, because of their fears or beliefs. But I try to, in a nice way, communicate to them that, it's extremely, extremely rare that someone builds muscle that easily that they're going to, that a woman's going to look manly or get too big or something.
Well, and just sharing that story that you just said, that should be an explanation enough that a man with all that testosterone, even all the guys in the class couldn't do it.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, that's a great story, Darren. I love it. So how did the girls do?
I think they struggled a little bit, but I think most of them got closer to the goal than we did. But I think, a lot of people, this goes into a whole nother conversation where people go, "Oh, like I've lost 8 pounds before. Like that didn't really, wasn't that hard." And we're not talking about just losing 8 pounds. We're talking about losing 8 pounds of body fat. A lot of times when people lose a fair amount of weight in a short period of time, in most cases, a good portion of that is water weight. Especially if you change your nutrition and for a lot of people who maybe eat less processed carbohydrate, you're going to hold less water weight very quickly. And so usually the quickest weight you lose is water weight and the quickest weight you gain is water weight. So when people have like a bad weekend and they go, "Oh, I gained 5 pounds. You didn't gain 5 pounds of fat. You gained mostly water weight and a little bit of fat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it goes away in a day or two.
Exactly. And it's why our weight fluctuates so quickly. Our weight, the amount of body fat we hold on our body does not fluctuate that much that quickly. Whereas our water weight for both men and women, and particularly women, fluctuates like crazy.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, the food you eat and how your body releases water and how much you hydrate, because if you're not hydrating enough, doesn't your body hold on to water just in case?
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff having to do with the balance of the amount of water and certain minerals on the inside of our cells versus the outside of our cells. And so our body has certain balances that it has to keep us alive. And so if we're, too high in some of these minerals and we're not drinking enough water, we're getting enough water through, fruits, vegetables, or any other high water content foods, our body can't let the amount of water it has deplete too much, we could literally die.
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense. And we don't want that for sure.
Definitely.
I drink a ton of water. I love water. And I drink a lot of hot tea in the winter. So I know that I'm getting plenty of hydration. What I need to be careful of is making sure I get enough electrolytes. So otherwise I get those calf cramps,
Definitely.
So I'm a big salt lover to make sure that those don't come at night. Oh my God, those are horrible. So now I would like to just quickly do a little speed round and talk about you a little bit. We've talked about your professional advice and all of that, but let's get to know Darren a little. So what is your favorite healthiest habit?
My favorite healthiest habit. I would say riding my bike.
Oh, do you ride road or mountain?
Mostly road bike.
Okay.
I'm a little bit, I've already had 3 concussions in my life. I'm a little paranoid about being torpedoed over my handlebars into a tree with mountain biking.
Oh, see, I like mountain biking way better than road biking just because you don't have to worry about the cars.
That's true. That is a good point. Fortunately, in my area, there's a lot of dedicated bike lanes, and they really try to cater towards cyclists and give them a safe place. And so there's a lot of bike paths I can ride on that there's no cars.
Good.
Able to access them, so I feel pretty safe with that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a lot better.
But for me, it's and some people might say this isn't the safest thing, but I like to listen to music while I'm riding my bike. But I'll usually keep one earbud out of my ear so I can hear, if there's cars or anybody like yelling or honking at me or something.
Oh, okay.
But for me, it has a meditative, relaxing effect for me, as well as getting some fresh air and exercise. And in general, I'm not one of those people that really likes doing a lot of cardio. I like lifting heavy stuff and putting it down, and I like doing more like sprint work and interval training and stuff like that. Because of my ADD, I just don't have the patience to, be on a treadmill for like 40 minutes or something. But for riding my bike, having the change of scenery and having a destination like, I'm going to ride to this place and grab a bite to eat, and doing it, especially with my friends, and making it a little bit more fun and social, I find relaxing and enjoyable.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that. We love being outside, get that happy vitamin D, right?
Exactly. And since I live in Seattle, we need as much vitamin D as we can get.
I hope you're supplementing.
I do, definitely.
Yeah, I take I don't know what, I can't remember. I think it's about 7,000 IUs of vitamin D a day.
That sounds like a pretty good amount. I think like 5,000 is kind of the bottom floor of what most people should be taking. But I think you can get away with actually taking significantly more than that in some cases. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a book, I think it's called The Miracle of Vitamin D, that I read years ago. And ever since then, I've been taking, and then you also want to use K2 with it. So I think I take, and I could be wrong because I just use these little spoons, but it's like 7,000 of D and 700 of K2 because they have to go and work in conjunction with each other. So that's a side note. Okay. What is your favorite accomplishment?
My favorite accomplishment. I'd say when I became a second degree black belt in the martial art I used to practice, that was a really big accomplishment for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Even though I don't train in that martial art anymore, and it's actually been years and years since I did, but it's still a big accomplishment. I was very proud of it, but also some of the opportunities and life circumstances that it sort of indirectly or directly led to were very important to me. So that is probably the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, 2 of my kids are I have 3 boys. Well, they're men, but I have 3. 2 of them are second degrees. One of them's a first degree, and then my husband's a 4th degree.
Wow, badass family.
Yeah, I'm 0. I didn't never do it because I could never spar with anybody. That would just break my soul. No way. But and what about your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. I have a pretty big sweet tooth, so I have a number of guilty pleasures that I succumb to from time to time, whether it's ice cream or chocolate or some of the Greek yogurts that maybe have on the higher side of the sugar content because of the fruit filling or something, I give into that from time to time.
Okay, so I found a yogurt that is fantastic. It is by Kite Hill. It's made with almond milk, but there's like no sugar in it. And I take a little bit of protein powder, and the protein powder I use only has 3 ingredients. It's really clean. And a little bit of protein powder, some chia seeds, and maybe some like peanut butter or almond butter. It is to die for. So
that sounds like quite a concoction.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. But just the yogurt as a base of whatever you're doing, it's a really clean yogurt. So
okay, and that's called Kite Hill?
Kite Hill. It's an almond milk yogurt. I think it's made in California, like up in the North Bay.
Okay,
so,
I'll have to check if that's available around here.
Well, and that goes to the next question. What's your favorite food? Like your favorite meal?
Well, I grew up in Boston, so lobster is kind of my big nostalgic thing that I have to have when I go back to visit family. But as far as what I probably eat on the most regular basis here, probably my favorite meal would be like filet mignon with some sautéed portobello mushrooms.
Oh, that sounds so good. My husband makes the best filet.
Yeah, I bought a actually I didn't buy it. One of my clients bought it for me. It's what's called a sous vide cooker, sous vide device. And it's this thing that you can hang on the edge of a pot, and it controls the water temperature very precisely. And it's a type of cooking where, as far as, let's say, steak goes, I'll use that as an example. I season the steak, I put it in a Ziploc freezer bag, and put that in the water, and the sous vide cooker kind of does all the work. I can kind of go off and do other things. And once it's done, I just sear it 1 minute per side in a pan, and it's done, and it's always perfect.
Wow, that's cool. Is there anything you can use besides a plastic bag?
Well, certain types of things I'll make in like mason jars. So like I'll make, I call them egg cups, which people often make in like muffin tins in the oven. But with the sous vide device, I put the egg and the cheese and the vegetables in a small little mason jar and cook that in the water. And then I can store those in the fridge as a nice kind of healthy to go snack.
Oh, that sounds, those are the Starbucks things.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, exactly. I love those.
You can fine tune how much yolk you use to how much egg white, or how much cheese, how much vegetables, or if you want to put like, sometimes I'll tear up some, Trader Joe's makes a really nice rosemary sliced ham. I'll tear some of that up and put it in there to add some more protein. Whatever you want to put in there that you like, you can kind of mix and match a little bit. But as far as an alternative to bags to put the steak in, usually people are usually using like those either vacuum sealer type bags or the Ziploc freezer bags.
Okay, that's what we need to find. I'm going to help you with this, okay? Because I would love to buy one of those for my husband because he loves to cook, but I am 100% against plastic. And
yeah, I don't blame you there. I'm trying to think of what would kind of be a viable alternative. I suppose you could probably put it, as long as it's airtight. If you can find some sort of airtight glass container, so if you're doing a steak, I guess if you could find like a larger mason jar that the steak would fit in, you could probably use a mason jar.
Okay, well, we're going to go on a hunt for that, all right, my dear? Because I don't want you I'm going to do this because first of all, I don't want anybody to be heating plastic. That's why I'm so against those stupid Keurigs, because they're heating plastic and then they're melting their coffee through it, and they're essentially drinking endocrine disruptors with that plastic. And
just one more reason why I don't think Keurigs are a good idea.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then they're drinking that stuff. And then plus it's all the waste, so you're getting the plastic K-cups into the environment. And I don't know. I think that's a bad invention. Like, give me a good French press,
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Okay, last question for you. What are you most grateful for?
My friends and family. I know it's cliche, but it's the feeling of belonging is one of the most important things in our lives, and the feeling of being accepted and loved, and who makes you feel like you belong more and are loved and cared for and accepted and part of something bigger yourself than your friends and family. And I include most of my training clients to me are like my friends or family. Some of my best friends started out as clients of mine, and I've been to clients' weddings, birthdays. Since I didn't grow up around here, I don't have actual family here. So they've invited me over for Thanksgivings and New Year's and Christmas, and even I don't know if you remember several years back when the world was supposed to end, the whole Mayan calendar thing.
Oh yeah.
I got invited over for the end of the world day.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's really cool that you have that. When you train your clients, do you train them like twice a week? What is your usual schedule?
I would say on average, most of my clients will train with me 3 days a week. I do both small group training and I also do one-on-one. Because of how expensive the one-on-one training is, most of my one-on-one clients train with me less often, and then supplement that with doing stuff on their own. So they might train with me on average 1 to 2 times a week, whereas my group clients usually train with me like 3 to 4 days a week.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, so how can people find you? Or do you have like a page on social media or a website or anything like that?
If you look up Darren, Darren, Cobin, Cobin on Facebook, I don't think there's very many Darren Cobins. So I'm pretty easy to find on Facebook, or my business is Bellevue Fitness Training, Bellevue, Bellevue Fitness Training. So I have a Facebook page for that as well. I do have a website, although it's under construction right now, so it's not the best resource for information or way of getting hold of me at the moment.
Well, we'll put a link on the show notes page just so they can find you anyhow. Okay.
Well, that website is BellevueFitnessTraining.com.
Okay, so it's under construction, so we'll check back in a little bit. But at least we'll have the link. So, yes. Hey, Darren, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your wisdom. And I hope that our listeners you shared so many different good nuggets that I'm sure there's something that they're going to be able to take and apply to their week. So that's awesome.
I'm glad to hear it. That's all I can hope, is that people get some benefit out of it.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. Thank you for listening to another episode of High Energy Girl. For complete show notes and Darren's contact info, please head on over to highenergygirl.com/show. Go out and make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.